Transforming Lives, Learning for Lifelong Knowledge and Improvement. Video 12, Let's Pause, Catch Our Breath, and Get Our Bearings.
In previous Transforming Lives videos, you've seen examples of CLOs that measure pure, content-free skills, habits, values, and traits. Recognizing that this is all new, and compared with grades probably seems a strange way to measure educational success, let's review our working definitions for the terms learning and teaching. This will better prepare us to create learning experiences, student assessment tools, the work the students do that generates our CLO scores, and rubrics. Future videos will address these topics.
As shared at the beginning of the first video, we are viewing education as a mix of learning and teaching. But what do we really mean by learning? If you are like me and have an advanced academic degree but no formal training in instructional design or learning theory, you probably closely associate learning with the successful processing, assimilation, digestion, and regurgitation of the course content. Unlike you, I've spent the last 5 years as a full-time assessment coordinator. This experience has given me a whole new outlook on learning.
As you've seen in these videos, the term learning includes much more than just successful assimilation of course content. In fact, its focus is not on course content at all. Rather, in this video series, learning refers to the lifelong learning of skills, habits, values, and traits that are imparted as students engage the course content. That is, learning, as used here, is not at all about course content. Instead, it is the lifelong learning imparted through study of the discipline.
In fact, in these videos, we are actually divorcing the learning of course content from the learning of lifelong skills, habits, values, and traits. To measure lifelong learning and make continuous improvement meaningful and productive, the learning of course content really lives solely on the teaching side of the coin. The learning of skills, habits, values, and traits lives only on the learning side. We are creating this separation to ensure our learning outcomes really do function as intended. They must measure the learning required for Pillar 4 of Guided Pathways and anchor the mechanism needed to ensure we earn all our money each year through performance-based funding.
But this still sounds so weird, so different from teaching, course outlines of record, and grades. So let's start back at the beginning. We are viewing education as a mix of learning and teaching. We want to completely separate learning from teaching so we can focus completely on learning. This will allow us to create learning outcomes, learning experiences, assessment tools, and rubrics that promote and measure the lifelong learning required for continuous employment, civic engagement, and personal enrichment. Outcome scores, not grades, are the measurement of learning required both for guided pathways and performance-based funding.
In terms of completely separating teaching from learning, consider the analogy of separating seawater into pure water and salt. Think of education as a day at the beach. Probably better not use this analogy with your students, though. The salt water is just part of an enjoyable day staying cool near the ocean. But we know that salt water is too salty to drink and too wet to serve as a seasoning or preservative. If we want drinking water, we need to remove the salt entirely. For example, if a fighter pilot ditches his plane at sea, a solar distiller is part of his survival equipment. It is needed to create pure drinking water, removing the salt from the seawater. Or if you want the salt all by itself, you need to remove all the water. Then you will have the solid preservative or seasoning you desire. A little bit of salt in our drinking water won't do. Neither will a little water in our salt. The water must be pure, the salt dry. Analogously, to accurately measure lifelong learning and ensure a productive continuous improvement process, we need to completely separate learning from teaching. In particular, we need to divorce the learning of course content from the learning of skills, habits, values, and traits.
Make no mistake, thinking of learning this way is a huge culture shift for us and our students. But remember all the learning stuff we are creating. The outcomes, learning experiences, assessment tools, and rubrics will be ready to go the first day of class. For us, during the semester, education will be predominantly teaching, a day at the beach. Our teaching on any given day won't be much different than it is now. But we'll have the learning constructs, Our outcomes, experiences, assessment tools, and rubrics overlay our content learning. Working in parallel to our classroom, this learning overlay will ensure the students are aware of, learning, and self-measuring the lifelong skills, habits, values, and traits needed for personal enrichment, continuous employment, and civic engagement.
Yes, shifting our primary measurement for educational success from grades to outcome scores is a challenge for all involved. Did you know in the 1860s our Congress adopted the metric system as our official measurement system? About 40 years ago, the U.S. tried to convert to the metric system, but failed. To this day, we still have not converted from the standard system. Even though a liter is about a quart, and a meter is about a yard, and a kilometer is a little longer than half a mile, the new unit seems so foreign, pun intended, that we've never completed the move from the standard system to the metric system. Had we converted to the metric system, we would now be simply moving the decimal point to convert between the prefixes kilo, deci, and milli for our length and volume measurements. Instead, to convert between the different units in the standard system, we have to remember lots of conversions. There are 2 pints in a quart, 4 quarts in a gallon, 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, 1,760 yards in a mile. The conversion between these units is relatively tedious and will likely require a calculator. To convert between units in the metric system, it's much, much simpler. You just move the decimal point.
A similar challenge exists when we try to focus on learning rather than teaching. Even though teaching constructs like lecture, course outline of record, objectives, tasks, and grades won't constitute a data dive deep enough to improve lifelong learning, we continue to try to use them instead of converting to learning constructs. SLOs that directly measure pure, content-free skills, habits, values, and traits. If we continue to try to pound the square peg of teaching through the round hole of learning, we'll keep getting what we've got: anemic continuous improvement and no evidence of the lifelong learning imparted through student engagement with our disciplined content.
Looking at the foundational features of learning and teaching for faculty and students will help us see the fundamental differences between these two terms as they are used in this video series. Let me highlight for you these differences as we'll experience them, creating our learning overlay and delivering our teaching as we typically do. In learning, the students are the most important population, since it is their lifelong learning that is of utmost importance. The population of primary importance in teaching is the faculty. We create the curriculum, deliver the content and learning experiences, and determine the grades. In terms of the way faculty do their work, learning must involve collaboration of all the discipline faculty, as this is the only way to successfully identify, articulate, message, and measure all the skills, habits, values, and traits imparted through the study of the discipline. On the other hand, teaching often leads to much solitary effort. For learning, the fundamental constructs are SLOs and rubrics. For teaching, the fundamental constructs are the course syllabus and course outline of record, or COR. For learning, the primary supporting documents are the SLO analysis and program review. For teaching, the primary supporting documents are the college catalog and diploma. For learning, the primary educational goals are the outcomes, the SLOs. For teaching, the primary educational goals are the learning objectives found in the course outline of record. In learning, the primary culture currency for both students and faculty are SLO scores. In teaching, the primary culture currency is grades for both faculty and students. For learning, the intended output is a transferable, transportable skill set needed for continuous employment, civic engagement, and personal enrichment. For teaching, the intended output is a passing grade. For learning, the ultimate student achievement is to become a lifelong learner. For teaching, the ultimate student achievement is to earn a degree or certificate. For learning, the fundamental time frame is the student's entire lifetime. For teaching, the fundamental time frame is a single semester. For learning, the primary learning modality is active. The student takes responsibility for his or her learning, focusing on the outcomes and self-scoring progress using the rubric. For teaching, the primary learning modality is passive. The student is fed the course content and hopefully regurgitates enough of it to earn a passing grade. For learning, the learning currency is skills, habits, values, and traits. That is, the currency is the lifelong learning the student will need to pass the class and use later in life. For teaching, the learning currency is the course content. Finally, for learning, the improvement groups contain all the major educational players, the faculty, students, staff, as well as the future employers. When outcome data drives improvement, budget allocation funds the improvements students need most to succeed. This means improvement to faculty teaching, improvement to student learning, maximizing student support, and employers get the employees that most help their business. For teaching, improved faculty teaching tends to be the major improvement. While this helps students pass the class, it may not do much to improve their lifelong learning.
If you are finding it difficult to completely separate teaching from learning, you can implement some of the learning features into your teaching. For example, you can introduce rubrics to your students, allowing them to self-score their achievement of the course learning objectives. In fact, you may already be using rubrics in Canvas or another LMS yourselves. It may not take much effort to write these in student-friendly language and see how your students do scoring themselves. Or to initiate collaboration among your faculty, start with something familiar and relatively non-threatening, like updating a course outline of record. Then branch into learning experiences that deliver the course content. Then you can tackle SLO development, modifying your learning experiences as needed to ensure they impart your learning outcomes.
That's all for now. Thanks for watching. For more videos, visit the Transforming Lives channel.